This is Ryan E. Louie, and this is the Digg series. This is episode 5, and it being the holiday season, a couple of days away here from Christmas, we're going to talk about my experiences being a professional percussionist during the holiday season. So let's get to it. Hey, a shout out always. I'm going to do it at the beginning. Episode 4, when I was out in the desert recording with Dekel Ramash. I did the shout out at the very end. I'll do the shout out at the very beginning. The shout out goes to the 8th grade percussion class at Claggett, as you are a big part of why I'm doing this podcast. I like to name out a couple of individuals, and it is Elena and Emily and Gia and Azame. You folks are awesome. The rest of the class, Dylan and everybody else, are a lot of fun as well. All right, so let's get to the podcast here. The holiday season always brings out concerts and performances. And as many of my percussionists know, that we always do a holiday concert, right? From like 6th grade all the way up through high school. My collegiate people that are listening to this, I'm sure I've had to do concerts as well during the holiday season. Some of my experiences playing, from songs like Sleigh Ride to A Christmas Festival by Leroy Anderson, are always staples that we go by. But I'm going to talk about some other experiences playing with different groups. And so as we go through this podcast, I hope you find that it'd be interesting and then hopefully sharing some of the holiday spirit as we get close to Christmas. One of my first experiences that I'm going to share, and this is not in any really chronological order, but actually it was... Oftentimes we do a piece called Sleigh Ride, and it is probably one of the more festive holiday pieces that we do, not only in concert band or wind symphonies, but also is in symphony orchestras. And there's even versions made a Sleigh Ride for big band, and so it is one of those iconic tunes. That when you play. That everybody knows. It's got the horsewhip. Somebody just actually talked to me yesterday. It was my priest, Father John. He had gave me a call to check up on me, hope everything was okay, and he's such a great person and a great man. And he asked about Sleigh Ride, and he said, "Hey, so when I was watching the Boston Pops, and I think it was conducted, John Williams conducted Arthur Fiedler, but then John Williams and then Keith Lockhart, who I've played under many times." He asked if the whip part at the very end, our percussionists classically trained to do a horsewhip because it's kind of a horsewhip crack. And I said, well, no, actually, it is we call it like a whip snap or slapstick that has 2 pieces of wood on a hinge and handles, and you clap it together, and that's what makes it sound like a whip. So those who know. And anyway, I just thought it was interesting yesterday that he gave me a call and asked about that specific question. And anyway, so back to Sleigh Ride. It has the digga-da-da, which is like the horse hooves, and we do on temple blocks. But my experience was with a band that they would always do Sleigh Ride at the very end. And so I suggested that Santa Claus come and conducts the last part of Sleigh Ride. So I'd bump off the conductor, and then me being dressed up as Santa Claus. I'm not Santa Claus, but dressed up as Santa Claus would conduct the rest. And so the conductor thought, hey, that'd be a great idea. And so what would happen was that I would Santa Claus would be coming down the aisle, and I would Santa Claus was tossing out candy canes. So I did, Santa Claus did that, was tossing out candy canes going down, and then would get up on stage, and you would be able to conduct the rest of the band, the last part of Sleigh Ride. And anyway, my family was there, and watching the performance. And it had to have been Hudson and Olivia. Lance wasn't born yet, so Olivia had to have been 3 or 4, but at the time 3 for sure. And so anyway, Santa comes down and was tossing out candy canes. They were playing sleigh ride, going through it, and Santa went up to Olivia and gave her a candy cane, and then anyway went up and then conducted the rest of sleigh ride. And that was a lot of fun. And to ho, ho, ho and all that kind of stuff. I underestimated how Santa has such a bellowing ho, ho, ho. And but it was a lot of fun. We ended the piece, and the concert was awesome. And I was coming out after the concert, and I met up with Olivia, my daughter, and I go, "How was the concert?" She screamed, and she goes, "I saw Santa," and it was a pretty funny moment. And that's how one of my greatest experiences was sleigh ride. And I played sleigh ride hundreds and hundreds of times, and it was always fun. But this was an extra special one, not only because I got to conduct a really good concert band, but I also, my daughter got to be part of that. And then I don't know if she remembers that. I'll probably bring it up. We got to go Christmas shopping today on Saturday, which is the 23rd, which is going to be an absolute zoo. But hey, that's what you get when you wait till the last minute, right? Anyway, I'm going to share another experience. I got a couple of them up here. And so the next one is the holiday season. This is going back to when I won my first principal timpani job, and that's with the Utah Chamber Orchestra. And I was a member of that group for 3 years before I went to grad school up at Carnegie Mellon. But it was my first professional principal timpani job that I actually won and was a part of. And anyway, we would do the run of Nutcrackers along with Ballet West, the professional ballet company. World renowned for sure. Matter of fact, I think they made a TV reality show. And so for those dancers that may like the Dance Moms, which I actually watched, is Olivia and I put up our Christmas tree at my place here, which was, putting up the Christmas tree was beautiful. Watching Dance Moms was equally as, I don't even know how to put it, drama-filled as it could be. But at any rate, that is our tradition of putting up Christmas trees and watching the Dance Moms. I'm so far off my subject. So anyway, this is with Ballet West. And so we would do a run of maybe 20-something to 30-something Nutcrackers in a season, starting, on Thanksgiving. I would stem through the new year. And it being one of my first professional, where I held the principal timpani job, I took as many as I could. I rarely subbed that one out. And so, during the weekdays, you're doing a single. During the weekends, you're doing doubles, which means you're doing 2 performances. And anyway, one of the great things about playing the Nutcracker during the holiday season is, you show up, you're playing in a pit. The pit is, below the stage. I'm in the very back, so you have your friends and your colleagues that you're playing with, along with the principal percussionist was my percussion professor, Douglas J. Wolf, which is just like an honor and really cool to be able to play next to him and hang out with him, not only as he was my college professor growing up, but he was also became a close friend and certainly a colleague that I would always look up to and still to this day. But the magic of the Nutcracker, and if nobody's ever seen the Nutcracker with a live orchestra, it is an incredible thing, with a professional ballet company. I remember, showing up to my performances, and you could see the audiences through the pit, and everybody is dressed in their nicest clothes, what we would call our Sunday best. And you see all these beautiful, beautiful people, and it doesn't matter if you're men or women or or boys and girls. Everybody's dressed so nicely, and you're able to be part of that festive occasion of playing and playing the Nutcracker. So I did hundreds of these during these runs over 3 years, and well, maybe not hundreds, but you could do the math, and plus rehearsals, and it was magical every time. Because it being my first principal timpani gig, it was the one where you get paid for every single one of them. You get paid to play, and that's always a great way to do it. And it was actually, at that time of my life where I actually didn't have to carry another job, like waiting tables or working at gas stations or doing this or doing that, where I could sustain myself as a professional musician and as an educator, because I always taught at the same time. But these Nutcrackers were just, the music that Tchaikovsky wrote, the ballet, and to be able to play that music and really know it inside and out, and to the point of where you end up sometimes getting mind boggled by, let's say you're in your 30th Nutcracker and you start thinking about other things while you're playing. I'll share an experience of that later, but or I'll share it now. So during these runs of Nutcrackers, you can get a little bit, your brain gets tired because you've done it so many times. I remember I'm doing the pas de trois, and at the very last, and some of the know this experience because I've shared it, but at the very last, timpani has like this big timpani solo roll, so it's like going ba, you're rolling, and then like the orchestra has 4 chunks that they play that the conductor gives, and it'd be like chunks. So we're somewhere in these big orchestra hits, and I started thinking about, I wonder what I'm going to eat after I get done playing here. And then I forgot how many chunks have gone by. And usually I like chicken out, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to stop. And I said, no, I'm going to keep playing because I think I got one more chunk, and then I stop. So I keep rolling, and the orchestra gives their last chunk. The conductor puts the baton down, and I'm still rolling, loud, double forte. And he picks up the baton, and he gives another one, and the orchestra hurry ups and gives one more chunk. And then we end. And, I was like, oh, I think I made a mistake. Maybe I didn't. I'm not sure. Oh, I'm pretty sure I made a mistake. And everybody thought that the conductor made the mistake, which was not really true. And the conductor's name is Terence Kearns, and he was actually he retired from the Royal Ballet in London, and then he was in Utah, and he conducted Ballet West, the orchestra for the Ballet West and Utah Chamber. And so I went up to Terence after, and I go, oh, Maestro, I am so sorry about this. And he's like, oh, Ryan, that's okay. You might want to go apologize to the dancer. And so obviously it was the ballerina that was up top that ended early as the orchestra. And so anyway, I did go up and apologize to the ballerina after. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Anyway, but the Nutcracker, again, is just like, always has a special holiday part in my life, as in I've played it so many times. I actually got to watch it. One of the first times I watched it was with the Cleveland Symphony, with the Joffrey Ballet Company, and so we got tickets to that, and that was like actually one of the first times I actually saw the Nutcracker from the stage, and other than in the pit and performing it, and so I was dressed in my Sunday best, or as good as we can be, and it was a magical thing to watch him play the Cleveland Symphony, which is one of the greatest orchestras in the world, as well as the Joffrey Ballet Company, and it was really a magical time. So that's the Nutcracker, in the holiday season, and what it means. The next concert I'm going to talk about is a big one for me. And again, this was all kind of during that same time I won Utah Chamber. I was hired to play with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, right? Remember, I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah. I did my undergrad at the University of Utah. I grew up there. I went to Cottonwood High School and Bonneville Junior High and Woodstock Elementary. Being asked to perform with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, and at that time it was the Canadian Brass was on the performance, and those who haven't heard the Canadian Brass, they're one of the best brass quintets, on the earth today. And so a big honor. And then added in brass players, throughout the community. And these are all professionals. And an interesting side note on this story was that actually I had purchased my first set of timpani, which those have been in Studio Louis. Those are the same set of timpanis. It's way back then. And I had purchased them through Steve Weiss Music, which is an incredible percussion distribution company. And this is when Steve Weiss was alive. And anyway, I had worked with him specifically, and I bought my Yamaha timpani, this 6200 series, and I worked with him. They had actually sent me two 32s. One was hand hammered, and this is like the day before or 2 days before I was recording with the Canadian Brass, because we're recording a piece for the Canadian Brass and the organ with the organist that plays in the Tabernacle, which is an incredible organ, and timpani. So I said I needed these timpani, so they drop shipped another one in. Steve Weiss felt so bad, he gave me a new set of timpani heads and drop cases for them and all that kind of stuff. They really took care of me really, really well. And I was able to go record with the Canadian Brass. And then with the show with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. So my experiences with that gig, it was one of the highest musical experiences that I've played, and because the Mormon Tabernacle Choir is gigantic. It's not like just a regular choir. I mean, it's large. It is big, and having that many positive voices behind you singing during the holiday season is like really, really incredible. And it really brings out, the good in the holiday season. And, and singing like, fun Christmas songs. And, but one of them, the big one was, we were doing the Rudder Gloria, the John Rudder Gloria. So it's choir, and then it has a brass, the Canadian Brass, plus, a whole bunch of other added trumpets and trombones and tubas. And so, but to be able to play that concert, and it was also televised. It was televised for years and years and years. They have new ones up, of course, and they are always fun. And actually, the timpanist in that, they actually have it's called the Orchestra at Temple Square, and it's a calling. So it's actually, I don't think it's a paid position. Actually, when I was playing timpani with that, I was actually the last paid professional timpanist with that series, singing with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir for their holiday concert series. And anyway, now it's one of my ex-students that's the principal timpanist in that group, and he's also now teaches timpani at the University of Utah. And anyway, I'm so far off the subject. Playing under the conduct, there were two conductors, and one of them was Craig Jessup, which he was actually an Air Force band conductor. But he did the Rudder Gloria, and so he worked with the musicians and the choir. And I would have to say that, there aren't a lot of conductors that are able to work with choir and instrumentalists equally. So a lot of times, the conductor be more of a choir person, or the other person be more of an orchestra person. But sometimes, but this, actually he was a colonel. Colonel Jessup was like one of the top musicians as a conductor that I worked with. And so his communication with the choir and with the instrumentalists was incredible, and really made it so that Rudder Gloria was like really, really, really a great piece. The other conductor, his name was Gerald Otley, and he was like so much fun, and he really would bring the joy and the passion and the fun out of playing, and so energetic when he played. And with I can't remember how many people are in the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, like 185 or 125, whatever the number is. It is gigantic. Somebody, maybe for those who listen, could do the research and go, oh, Mr. Louis or Ryan, there's 100 and something in there. Anyway. but in the choir, but to all be singing with positive, joyful voices, like I said before, and the group being one of the top, and some of these top brass players in the world were all part of this group. And I was just lucky enough to be able to play timpani for it. And I just remember we were at the very last, they're doing the solo bows, and at one of the concerts, Gerald was like, come on out, take a solo bow. And I don't know, I was just shy enough. I didn't want to do it and come out, even though I should have. And I remember him trying to motion me to come out. I said, I'm okay, And then he looked at me, and he was on stage. He literally stuck his tongue out, man. He goes, And anyway, I just thought it was really, really funny. And anyway, it was a great concert series to play with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, and to be able to be a part of that incredible Christmas and holiday experience. I have many other stories that I could tell about playing Christmas concerts, like with your United States Air Force Band, and the concerts that we did every Christmas was such a big production. And maybe, this will be on another episode at another time. But to kind of sum up today's, episode, I want to wish everybody the most happiest of holiday seasons, a Merry Christmas. And if you celebrate Christmas, and those who don't, have a great holiday season. Happy Hanukkah. And I'm just ever amazed that people listen to my podcast. I hope they keep listening to it. Reach out to me. You can always listen to my podcast on my YouTube site, which is Ryan Louie, RYUNLOUIE. You can look me up on there. Please subscribe. And also you can find it on my website, which is RYUNLOU.com. Have a great holiday season and a happy new year. And I'll do a New Year's one coming up here in a week. So we'll talk to you later. Truth.